Hello guys, welcome to this video where we'll try to integrate MongoDB to a nestjs and Angular application. This video is a follow-up video on how to work using a monorepo with Angular for a frontend and nestjs on a backend. And if you want to see how I set up this project, you can consider the previous videos that I have already uploaded. And if today is your first time here, please don't forget to subscribe and like this video. So to get started with MongoDB, let's head to nestjs documentation for MongoDB. They have very nice documentation outlining how you can use MongoDB with nestjs. So the first thing we have to do here is to install this package mongoose. Let's do the same thing. So the package is being installed. And also it's very handy that last time we made the integration to Docker. That way we can use Docker for the connection to the database. So we don't have to install MongoDB on our machine. We later use the Docker Compose integration with MongoDB as well. So first thing, let's just wait for this package to be installed, and then after we can continue following the documentation of nestjs. So then the next thing we'll have to do also is to import the mongoose module in our app module file. So the package has completed to be installed. So now let's go to app module and we try to import this. So we can add it here. Let's import the package. Okay, this one is done. Now let's continue following the documentation. So now what we have to do is to create a schema for our database. So here they have a cat schema. We will like to create a schema, but we call it a to-do schema, because later on we try to do a to-do app. So we try to modify this schema a little bit. So now let's go to our project, and inside our app, so here we can create a new folder and call it to do. And inside this folder we can create another one, call it schema. And now inside this new folder we can create a to-do schema. Let's just copy the schema they have here, and then we can make let's copy the schema and then we can make some changes to it. So we call a document a to-do document. So we can now leave only the name and remove the other properties. We don't need them that much for now. Okay, so now we have our schema. So let's continue. So now they are just explaining what the property decorator means. And if you want to do more advanced things, you can also add a reference to another table. So far so good for us. So here they created a module, and then they call it cat.module.ts. So we also try to do likewise, but we call module a to-do module. So here we have to do. So we try to create to do module.ts. So we can paste this one and then we make the changes. So we don't have, we can remove this one and then just change and this. We don't yet have the controller, and we don't yet have the controller, and neither do we have the service yet. We have the schema. I should find it. Okay, let me check. Is the name okay? The name is not correct here. So normally should find this one. Okay, yeah. Okay, and then here is also a to do. So now let's continue with the documentation again. So here we have a service that is created. Now let's also copy this service. Then we create a new file and call it we can paste everything. They just make the changes. So we haven't yet created this DTO. so, so this one will be missing for now, and as we're following the documentation, we'll later create it. So now we have the our service that is done. Um, Now the documentation is talking about the additional step that can be that can be done for other configuration. But I guess for what we are trying to do, I guess we are set. Let me just try to see. I guess we have everything. In case we need to inject a particular connection for the database, then we will have to use this injector for that connection. But that's not our case here. Okay, now we have this the DTO. I guess we haven't talked about it in the documentation. But we can try to create our own DTO. Is just an interface between our application and the backend and the database. So now let's go and create the DTO. So we create a new folder and can call it DTO. Just a normal interface, TypeScript interface. I set the property to be read only. So since we're not going to modify it. Okay, now I guess if we come here, we can say that this is a create to do DTO. Should be able to find it. Okay, it's done. What else is missing? Now we need to have a controller. And in this controller, we can define the oh yeah, you don't yet have a controller. Okay, now we can import. Okay, we don't have a cat service, but we rather have a to-do service. And now we need to define this controller here, and we can call it a to-do controller. Okay, I created the to-do module in the schema, so let's rather move it to the to-do folder. Likewise for the service as well. Now inside the to-do folder, I will create a to-do controller. I mean, unfortunately, they don't talk about this one in the documentation. But this one you can write them easily. So let's create a class here, export class. But you can also look to the GitHub page, and then they also talk about you have a project that is already set up with the configuration that they've done. So if you go below, you can look to this working example here, and then in this working example, you have the controller or the CAD controller. You have the DTO as well that is created, but they didn't mention it here. I guess maybe it's for the documentation to be much simpler. Anyway, we can write the controller by ourselves. Yeah, just need to mention here that this one is a controller using the controller decorator. And here we can create sync create using the body of the request of type create to do the DTO. We also need in the constructor to call the service. We need to call the to-do service here. That way we can use it here to create this to create a to-do. So this dot to-do service has a create. It has a create here. Let's also use a decorator to say that this one will use it on a post request. Now let's add another on a get request, and can call it a find all method. To the service, you also have a find all here. So yeah. And why is because okay. We have a find, then I need to have an assign find Okay, now we have created the methods create that we call when there is a post request, and then a find all that we call when there is a get request. So there are still some errors here. Let's try to see if we can solve them. Okay, now we have a to-do controller, and now we have the to-do service as well. We can now import them. Add all missing imports. Okay, now in the service, we do have some errors. Why is this the case? Wait, let's just try to remove this one, and we can add all the missing import to see if it solves the issue. Okay, it's fine. So now what we now need to do is to register this controller in the to-do module. Is already done. But now we need to register our to-do module in app module. So we now add another import here, and let's call it it's not finding this. Okay, what is the name we gave to it? It's because we call it cat module. Okay, let's change the name. Now if you go back here, you should find it easily. Okay, so now we have a module that is registered in app module. So now what we now need to do for everything to work is now to define a new service in our Docker compose file for the database. So now let's add a new service. Let's call it DB. We use the mongodb image, and the port we use the default port of mongodb, that is the 27017. Okay, now it seems that everything is okay. Now let's try to build our containers using Docker Compose. Okay, it's telling me that there is an error here. Okay, it's fine. So there is some space here. So both services are running. So that's perfect. So maybe if you're running for the first time, maybe it might take longer, maybe to pull the MongoDB image from the repository, from a remote repository. So maybe it might take longer, but now it's fine. Okay, but now we do have this error here. It's telling us that it's unable to connect to the database. Okay, let's check out why that is the case. So what URL did we use? So in the service here, the module, okay, in baby module. Okay, we are using a MongoDB local host to connect to the database Nest, but this local host is wrong because it is different inside a Docker Compose network. Actually, here it should rather be. Let's go and check again in our Docker Compose. Now Docker Compose, it should rather be DB. So let's go again to app module and make this change. Okay, is it picked directly? Let's check if it's picked directly. If we have to rebuild our containers. Seems that is working properly. So we have a database that is launched, the service of a database that is launched, and then you have a service web that is launched for nestjs server. Okay, so now what we'll try to do is try to use this extension that is called Thunder Client. I really like this extension because right here I can still in Vscode I can still make app requests. I find it to be very practical. I don't need to have an additional postman before I can be able to test API. So we try to use this extension so we try to make two requests. We try to make a get request and try to see if we can fetch all the to-dos that we have in our database. Currently, we don't have any. And we try to also do a post request and try to see if we can update our database or add a to-do in our database. Okay. But first thing, let's try to see if you have already add this URL to our controller, because I think I haven't done it yet. Okay, so let's go to our controller. To do controller. So here, I mean, you can define a global name for the whole controller. You can call it to do. And that way you can make a post on to do and get on to do. And with this one, now let's try to see if our request work. So now back to our Thunder client extension. So if you go to the get request, I can do this one directly. Instead of having a JSON response, we do have this. Seems that there is something wrong here. Okay, let me copy this one here. It's a get request, it's fine. I can copy and paste it in the browser as well. I return me something wrong. It's not what I'm expecting actually. Okay, so let's go back to this. If you go to this, to the controller again. Okay, we have okay, the to-do controller is expecting this to-do. But then if you go to the app module, so you do have a middleware consumer, and what happened here is that you can go to this front-end middleware, and if the URL doesn't contain API, then it goes directly and it serves index.html. I mean, it's not exactly what we want. Okay, so just to solve this issue, we can just go directly in our to-do controller, and then let's just add API here. Okay, it to be enough for the moment. Okay. Now if you go to our browser, and then if you add the API here. Okay, yeah, that's fine. So it works. Okay, now if you go back here, it means that we can now do post request and an API to do. And add a body request. So you can add a name. We don't have anything here. So let's add my first to do. Okay. If I send this request, and now if I go to the get request, and then if I send, no, this one is, so it's wrong, then I can add an API here. And here I have my responses. Perfect. It means that our connection to the backend is working as we wanted. So everything is set perfectly. So this integration of MongoDB with our nestjs backend is done. So maybe the next thing what we'll try to do next time will be to create a front-end application where we can directly make this post request directly from the user interface, and also being able to query all the to-dos that we have already in the system. So we try to do this user interface maybe in the next video that I will try to upload. So I hope you guys you like this video, and I can't wait maybe to see you in our next video. Bye.